jokes later. Item 8 point, oh, excuse me. No, we reconvene at 5:52 p.m. for the regular board meeting. Now, item 8.1, revision, adoption, ordering of agenda for November 20th, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Stafford, Mr. Nielsen. Any discussion? None? Please vote, gentlemen. Item 8.1 is a 5-0 vote. Item 9.1, report out of closed session. Thank you, sir. Item 9.2, district update by the superintendent.
Well, to start off with, we have what we call a RAVE award in our district, which is to recognize some of our employees for some of the stuff they do, and they get nominated by other employees or their bosses and things like that. And we have one of the RAVE award winners, and I'd like to have Mr. Skorpanich present the award.
Thank you. As Mr. Bennett said, we have the RAVE Award that goes to our employees, and it stands an acronym that stands for recognizing our all valuable employees. So this evening, we'd like to recognize our professional development technician, and that's Monica Cornejo. And I just gotta say, Monica is a rock star, and it's evident in terms of the certificate that she received. And on it, and the nomination said, Monica is an outstanding asset to the Paris Union High School District. She always has a cheerful demeanor and willingness to help. And during the PD days at Heritage High School, there was a concern regarding another staff member, and Monica jumped in to help with that situation and in all situations. She's outstanding when helping with conferences and willing to answer all questions, and she's a true star in the district. And she's a rising star. She's gone from a receptionist to her current role as a professional development technician, and has finished up her bachelor's degree, and she's going to be a Spanish teacher, I'm sure, in our district here soon. So congratulations, Monica.
I'll continue with my part of the report then. Kickoff to College event was held at Paris High School on October 19th, and it was focusing on the kids and the parents, so the parents could understand that the kids do have an option to get into college and go because of filling out the FAFSA and doing all that those great things. That same day, I attended the family day at the Boys and Girls Club of Menifee, but we just opened the Boys and Girls Club here in Paris just probably about 3 weeks ago on D and 10th Street, so it's exciting time for that. And they already have 71 members. Kids have signed up, 71 kids there already. The Menifee Bowl football game was on October 18th, and it continued with Heritage winning for, I think, the 10th year in a row. Sorry, where's Jen? October 24th, we had our district-wide college fair at Heritage High School, and you're going to hear about more of that this evening, but it was a great event out there. They do a great job putting that on. On October 26th, Mr. Skorpanich started again the Aspiring Administrators Academy, and we have teachers from our district, teachers from Menifee, from Romoland, from Nuevo, all coming that have interest in becoming administrators. So we kind of do the things you don't learn when you're taking your college classes. So it's a great thing, and it helps us look for our bench strength of our next administrators coming through. November 2nd was the Paris Veterans Parade. We had our ROTC program from Paris High in there. We had the Heritage Band. We had marching groups from CMI all in there. And it was a nice day. November 10th through 12th, I attended the National Superintendent's Forum in San Diego, and they asked me to present, so I presented on the 4 C's of the 21st century learning. And it was fun doing that. I don't do that often, so it was a good time. Just last night, we held our first district-wide e-sports tournament. And Paris High and Paloma Valley High are moving on to the county-wide event December 7th. So that's something new, and that's cool. I think Paloma Valley was the big winner, wasn't he, Joe? The overall winner? I'm not sure, what game did you guys play?
It's called Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers. Awesome. We have put on our district website, the public charge video is on our website, so if parents or or students have questions about that, it's a great resource we picked up from TODEC, right? From TODEC. So it's on our district website to help the families. We also put a new app on our district website, which is the Stop Bullying app. So if kids are having problems, they can go online and let people know so we can help them and try to curb any bullying that's happening on campus. Just December 6th is my first event as Santa Claus. I'll be doing the tree lighting ceremony here in Paris. And the following Saturday is the Christmas parade, and I'm Santa there also. So I'm sorry if you haven't figured that out yet. Our middle school kids sometimes are still believing in Santa, being. I'm the real Santa though. Although I've lost 30 pounds, so I'm not sure if that can still do that. And then I have one more event. I'm doing Breakfast with Santa here in the city of Paris. You just never know. Once they give me the costume, I may just show up anywhere trusted with Santa. But that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Item 9.3, student representatives to the Board of Trustees. And Mr. Nielsen.
All right, from Heritage High School student representatives, Randy Schumann and Emily Butiven. I hope that was right, but I was probably wrong. How do you say it? Bugtavine, okay. Yep, okay. I put the...
Good evening, Mr. Garcia, President, members of the board, Mr. Bennett, and the members of the cabinet. My name is Randy Schumann. Right with me is Emily Budavine. We are extremely excited to share a few highlights of what's been happening at Heritage High School since the last meeting. We are so proud of our fall sports and the hard work and dedication they put into our seasons. Girls volleyball, girls tennis, and girls golf were all league champs this year. All of our fall sports had teams or individuals advance to CIF. Winter sports are starting the season, and we are very excited to see them play.
The French Club and classes celebrated National French Week last week with a Spirit Week and a variety of activities. They set up a booth every day during lunch to teach students French sayings and share French culture. In the classroom, students enjoyed a French cheese tasting, building an Eiffel Tower with spaghetti and marshmallows, played a French game with a bocce ball, and French Club capped off a great week with a friendly soccer game against the Spanish Club. Robotics is also in full swing of competition season. They have been working very hard on their robots and collaborating in their teams. They will be hosting their next competition in the Heritage High School gym on December 7th.
We just want to take a moment to celebrate and thank our parent volunteers on National Parent Involvement Day. We have an amazing group of parents who come in and help with a variety of activities. They help with kick off to college, homecoming dance, royal family, and back to school night, as well as classroom projects and more. We are very appreciative of their dedication to our school and their hard effort. We're also thankful for our technology. Heritage High School is thankful for technology and our tech support. Sorry for the repetitives. Students are learning how to code in our computer science classes using code.org curriculum. Ms. Johnson's anatomy and physiology are reviewing for an upcoming assessment. They are rotating between virtual reality and interactive diagrams for Q&A. It's awesome to see technology used in so many ways other than social media and texting. This past Saturday was very busy for Heritage High School. We hosted a robotics tournament, FFA hosted a plant sale, and we joined forces with the city of Menifee for a city cleanup day. Thank you, Daisy and Sophie, for the photo op. We love seeing you at our events, and thank you, Mr. Williams, for the pups.
We also have a few more upcoming events. We have a blood drive on December 4th, a band concert on December 5th, robotics competition on December 7th, also as well as the band at Menifee Christmas Parade. We have a Link Crew Cocoa and Cram on December 11th, Heritage FFA Ag Cup December 14th, and finally Finals Week December 16th through the 19th. Our student of the month is Dominic Sear, and he was the captain of our varsity football team. He has a 4.1 GPA and is top 4% of his class. While that is certainly commendable, he is also described as involved in community service, thoughtful, and kind. He is very welcoming of others and makes other people feel like they are included.
Thank you for all your support at Heritage High School. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your continued support and what we do at Heritage. And we hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving with your families. And thank you for your time.
Student representatives from Paloma Valley High School, Josiah Civile and Ethan Smith.
Good evening, President Garcia and members of the board, and Superintendent Bennett and cabinet members. My name is Ethan Smith, and I have here with me Josiah Civile, and we're going to let you know about the stuff that's been going on at Paloma over the past month.
Congrats to our NJROTC Battle Cats who won first place in their drill meet aboard the USS Midway. Our Battle Cats are awesome.
Here's some of our seniors enjoying their In-N-Out that they earned last May when the class of 2020 improved their CAS scores by over 25 points in both English and math. Great job, Wildcats.
Our girls volleyball team claimed back-to-back league champs and placed second in their CIF SS division.
As Superintendent Bennett mentioned, we had our esports tournament for the district last night, in which Paloma claimed first. So we'll be representing the Paris Union High School District along with Paris High School at the Riverside County competition soon.
Our Renaissance students spotlighted two of our outstanding custodians for all of their hard work keeping our campus clean for the students and staff. Thank you, Walter and Corey, for all that you do for us.
Upcoming, we have winter sports who have just started, and some have already had competitions, and our winter dance will be held on December 19th. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Yes, student representatives from Perris High School, Valeria Castillo and Herendida Corona.
Good evening, President Garcia and board members, Superintendent Bennett and Cabinet. I am Herendida Corona, and with my partner and fellow junior Valeria Castillo, together we are your Paris High School board representatives. Today we present in no particular order the events that took place last month.
This is the blood drive committee. If you ask me, those are some good looking people. That is Rodriguez before donating blood. Now this is Rodriguez passed out. I'm just kidding. When I asked him if he was okay, he said he was lightheaded. So the final results of the blood drive were 130 donors registered, 68 first-time donors, and 117 units were collected in total.
Our JROTC entered the Best Raider competition, U.S. Army event, held in Georgia over 5 days. 26 teams all over the United States went. We were the only team in California that went. This is JROTC before going there. They have lots of smiles, clean clothes, lucky Southern California weather, 81 degrees. This is them after, with a lot of mud, not so clean clothes, a little hypothermic, but still smiling, mostly.
We had a Halloween costume contest that led to 3 winners with spooky baskets.
This was our first school-wide altar, and it was a success. There was a lot of people showed up. We painted frames, schools, shared a lot of stories of our loved ones. We watched Coco while drinking cocoa, and we enjoyed a time together.
Last weekend, all of ASB officers and directors went to CATA, which included guest speakers, breakout sessions, advisor sessions, and team building. I personally went to CATA, and one of the sessions was called One of the Crazy Ones, and what I took from it was to be the motivation you want to see in the world. But my absolute favorite part was one of the guest speakers started singing. Don't drop that. No one heard. Okay. Oh, and did I forget? We went to the happiest place on earth. So that is us. That's our advisor, our junior advisor, Osuna. And there's 2 of them, if you didn't know.
Our ATS group has been working hard at connecting students to school through volunteering. They're planning a food drive. There is 27 students volunteering, and they have altogether put 68 hours in. Our future community service events are the City of Paris Toy Drive and Recycling Club Partnership. Our student of the month was Brina Lopez. She is our ASB president, and our teacher of the month was Miss Cartel. She's a great math teacher, which reminds me I have a test tomorrow for her class.
Okay, all of the dorm enrollment classes from geography went to Old Town San Diego and San Andreas Fault. While they were there, there was a celebration of Dia de los Muertos. The fault direction is from left to right, and the water indicates the lowest point created by the fault.
Other notable events that took place during the month was Plus Leadership hosted Beach Chair Friday and also the Mental Health Fair. Lean Crew partnered with Avid and they went to their conference and also had horror nights. Jersey Mike's collaborated with Paris High, and we had our senior night and Pink Out. To keep up with all of our events by following us on Twitter and Instagram, and that's it. Thank you for your time.
And now from Pinacati Middle School student representatives, I can't get the last name, I apologize, Marmolejo and Eileen Mireles. Come on down.
Good evening, President Garcia and board members, Superintendent Bennett and Cabinet. I am Maximo Marmolejo and
I am Eileen Mireles, and we are representing Pinacati's Associate Student Body.
Recently, our student body has been participating in many different activities to help students show school spirit while trying to promote a fun and safe environment for our fellow Pumas. On November 1st, Club Life hosted their annual to Six Flags Magic Mountain. There were 50 students that were selected to go. It was an exciting trip with lots of smiles and new friends.
Our fall play started this week. There were over 75 audience members at our opening night, and our drama students had a blast. Please join us on Thursday at 5 o'clock for drama's final showing of our fall play.
On October 28th through 31st, we held our Red Ribbon Week. In addition, we had a guest speaker who spoke to our students about the dangers of drug abuse and what to do in drug-related emergencies. Also, during Red Ribbon Week, we had Spirits Day such as Meme Day, Movie Day, Decades Day, Halloween Day, and Red Ribbon Day.
On October 29th, we hosted a dance for our students to have fun with their friends. At the dance, we had snacks, drinks, and music. We also had our stagecraft members create a maze for our students to attend. More than 200 students were involved in the dance. On Halloween, or October 31st, we had a costume contest during lunch where students dressed up and competed to win a pumpkin from our school's garden.
On November 5th, we hosted our second annual Harvest Festival. During the Harvest Festival, students participated in the Halloween maze, and funds were raised for our school's clubs through game booths. Altogether, our clubs were able to raise over $600 to go towards future events and activities.
Our fall sports wrapped up earlier this month. Flag football had 7 wins and 3 losses. Our cross-country team had 4 meets. Our volleyball team A had 3 wins and 6 losses. Team B had 4 wins and 4 losses.
This year, we got new technology on campus, including Promethean boards, Raspberry Pi tops, and EV3 Lego Mindstorm kits. Promethean boards allow teachers and students to draw on and annotate their learning. Raspberry Pi tops are a very fun way to learn computing program using Raspberry Pi Lego Milestone helps students learn how to build robots and program them using code.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you very much.
From Paris Lake High School, we have student representatives Leo Albano and Priscilla Santoyo.
Good evening, Governing Board and Cabinet members. My name is Priscilla Santoyo. I'm a student representative of Paris Lake High School's ASB, and I would like to introduce my fellow ASB member and representative, Leonel Albano.
First off, I want to thank the governing board, members of the cabinet, and Superintendent Bennett for inviting us here to share the events at Lake. Here's a very brief presentation summarizing the events that have been going on.
On the evening of October 17th, approximately 50 Paris Lake students attended the Not Scary farm trip. This year, we had more students participate than at any other time. The purpose of the excursion was to reward students for good grades, attendance, and exceptional behavior. Students had the option to explore theme mazes, scare zones, and traditional rides. This trip provided students with the opportunity to meet new people and make new friends. Students can agree that this expedition served as motivation for them to continue working towards their academic goals.
On October 29th, 3 students were selected. Priscilla Santoyo, my fellow ASB representative of Paris Lake High School, Ishan Reddy, and Veronica Angulo attended the Riverside County Student Union Conference. The occasion took place on Riverside, in Riverside's Convention Center, and took all day long. The Student Unity Conference was intended for students whose goal is dependent and also showed students to bring out the best in their campus and overall community. The conference impacted students by motivating them to go to their community and waiting to make a difference, The session also taught attendees how to be sufficient student leaders. The event was made possible by Riverside County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Judy D. White.
On October 30th, Paris Lake High School arranged a college and career fair that offers students the convenience of examining their options after high school. The fair included guest speakers from Universal Technician Institute, Amazon Fulfillment Center, Suzune Cosmetology, Mount San Jacinto College, Sigma Beta Xi, and our district nurse. We also had our Army recruiters roaming the campus during and after the event to speak about the educational benefits that would be offered to them if they were interested in applying. A variety of guests were from our own community, and others came from surrounding areas. The presenters were generous enough to come out and sacrifice some of their time to speak to our students about what they want to do with their life in the future and to consider some options.
On October 31st, Paris Lake High School hosted their SOAR Awards, where students were being recognized for their grades, attendance, and exceptional behavior. There are 3 tiers to these awards, going from silver, gold, to platinum. The students that received these awards were given a barbecue lunch served by ASB students. Students could use these awards to encourage them to continue doing great in school and to help them lead to graduation and to keep up their hard work. Over 100 students received awards. Parents and family came to celebrate their students' accomplishments as well.
On November 4th, Paris Lake students attended Cal State University San Bernardino, and we were escorted by a personal guide. Not only did we see what the university had to offer, but we got to see what every building's purpose was in the different majors. By buildings within the campus, they offered nursing, psychology, human services, and more. They also informed students that there were no limits to changing a career path. The purpose of this trip was to see the options we had for our future and see what the next step is for the students at a 4-year California State University.
Thank you for your time and cooperation. Before we continue to your guys' questions, I'd like to point out that none of these presentations or any of these things could have been done without our fellow students from Paris Lake High School, so I'd like to take a moment to point them out. Thank you guys for your guys' help. And is there any questions or concerns about the presentation? Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Item 9.4, CSEA President Josh Rushing. But before you come up, do you want me to dismiss him now? Okay. Students, you're more than welcome to stay, and you're more than welcome to leave. No one's holding you.
All right, good evening. Thank you, President Garcia, cabinet members, or board members, sorry, Superintendent Bennett, and cabinet. Been kind of an interesting month in our district. I think it's kind of a good statement to say. A lot of concerns I know have been brought up regarding safety and things going forward. I know there's plans in place to address that, so I'm not going to beat that horse to death. One of the things I saw on tonight's agenda was that we're hiring 2 new managers. I think I understand the idea behind it. Just kind of curious how the rollout is going to look and the effects on our members. I know sometimes there's a communication where people might not know who they answer to, so hopefully that can be addressed. On the lighter side, Mr. Bennett, December 11th, Santa, right? For our Christmas party. I won't be there. I can't fill in, so. Okay, yeah. I'm actually going to be in San Jose, so I'm going to miss our own Christmas party. But I would like to extend an invitation to everybody who wants to come show up. It's going to be at Paris High, December 11th at 6. Come by. We're going to have some games and food and some other stuff. We also got our tentative agreement dealt with in October, at the end there. I actually missed that also because I was in San Jose again. But hopefully this time around, any and all concerns were addressed by both members and by the district. We all think it's a good deal. Hopefully, if there's any questions, feel free to call me, email me. I work here. I'm sure you can find me. I might not know where I'm going to be every day, but I'll be somewhere. With that being said, thank you for everything, and hope you guys have a nice Thanksgiving break with your family and friends.
Item 9.5, PSEA President Jason Miller.
Thank you for this time to speak. My contents are brief this month. Some members are feeling unsafe at some work sites right now, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details. PSEA has been actively working with the district and site level administration to improve the member safety, particularly at Paloma High School after several serious incidents have occurred, and there has been movement, there have been improvements. PSEA is still trying to wrap our collective heads around these incidents as we move forward to help our members feel safer. I'm just gonna say it, and maybe it's just me, but it feels like the universe is in a strange place right now. It feels like the universe just needs some rest. So I hope everyone here in this room and throughout the district gets the much needed rest they need next week. So thank you for this time to speak.
Please, Dr. Rouse. My bad. Mr. Nelson? Well, the kids left, but I guess we'll just move along.
You were the one who dismissed.
No, I don't know. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. You know, I apologize for jumping the gun. I'm sorry. Item 10.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees, non-agendized items.
We have none this evening.
Thank you, sir. Item 11.1, consent calendar, approval of consent calendar items. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Dr. Rouse. And who is my second? Mr. Nelson. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 11.1, 5-0 vote. Item 12.1, district equity update.
President Garcia and the board, there was a request from previous meetings in regards to our new equity board policy, and kind of just a quick brief overview of it. And so what I want to do real briefly tonight is just go over just a couple of components of what was built into that policy. In addition, talk about the 9 specific strategies that were listed in terms of recommendations that we can use kind of guiding the worker in equity in regards to our district. And so board policy 0415 was specifically designed for equity, and it just talks specifically about the governing board, just the belief and the importance of diversity that exists within the district. It talks about, and I'm not going to read the whole paragraph for you. I think I just wanted to kind of highlight kind of just some key words that I thought would just kind of frame the conversation in regards to equity. It talks about the importance of diversity being an integral part of the district's mission, vision, and its goals, and then also that we need to really work to address the needs of the most marginalized learners with this commitment to equity. And so that's kind of the first paragraph that's laid out in terms of a commitment to equity in our district. Second paragraph talks about the importance of eradicating institutional bias, which many of us heard that, we hear those terms when we go to conferences. And it kind of lays out that the district shall proactively identify class and cultural biases, as well as practices, policies, and institutional barriers that negatively influence student learning, perpetuates achievement gaps, and impede equal access to opportunities for all students. And so that we're taking a proactive approach specifically to the work as it relates to equity. The third paragraph talks about this commitment to specifically ensure that equity is the intentional result of the district's decisions, and that the board shall consider whether its decisions address the needs of students from racial, ethnic, and indigenous communities, and remedy the inequities that such communities experience in the context of a history of exclusion, discrimination, and segregation. So that's the terminology that we have in regards to our board policy. And so that's kind of the opening segments that kind of frames the purpose of why we have this policy around equity. In addition to that, it also lays out and recommends some specific strategies that we should analyze and use as a district in regards to the work. And so the first strategy talks about routinely assessing student needs based on data disaggregated by race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds in order to enable equity-focused policy, planning, and resource development decisions. And so this isn't the everything we're doing, but it just kind of very briefly just lays out some of the components that we do as a district in terms of how do we routinely assess how things are going. And so, for instance, we have the California Healthy Kids Survey. Annually, we bring to you twice a year the behavior in terms of suspension data. I think Mr. Bruff comes in and presents that information and breaks it down for us. The attendance in terms of what attendance looks like district-wide. We have our CASP results, LPAC, and California Dashboard. Those results will be coming to the board next month, broken down specifically in terms of how all kids are doing district-wide. So those are just some samples of what strategy 1 looks like in terms of practice. Number 2, it talks about the analyzing kind of expenditures and allocating financial and human resources in a manner that provides all students with equitable access to district programs, support services, and opportunities for success, and promotes equity and inclusion in the district. Such resources include access to high-quality administration, teachers and other school personnel, funding technology, talks about technology, equipment, textbooks, and other instructional materials and facilities, and community resources and partnerships. And so laying out how are we spending our money to really address the items as it relates to equity, ensuring that we're equitable in terms of how we're spending money. And so the LCAP annual update has that built into it, and so we bring that to the board annually for you to review specifically how we're spending money. Included in there is an annual update is included in the board as well. School sites are working on their school site plans for student achievement, and then also in our LCAP federal addendum, there's components in there relating to equity as well that we have to complete annually. The Williams audit in terms of facilities and instructional materials, those practices were based specifically around equity in how those practices look district-wide. Number 3 talks about enabling and encouraging students to enroll and participate in and complete curricular and extracurricular courses, advanced college preparation programs, and other student activities. And this is the work really that we've been engaged in. And once I'm finished tonight, you will get an opportunity to hear our college and career update that we bring to you annually. And Julie Zero, our Director of Curriculum Instruction, will be bringing that to you today, breaking down kind of the work we're doing district-wide. But the work we're doing around dual enrollment courses, college and career readiness counselors, advanced placement, career technical education, college and career foundation courses, just some samples of the work that we're doing in terms of how do we increase students taking these different courses to make sure that they're college and career ready when they're leaving our district. Strategy number 4, building a positive school climate that promotes student engagement, safety, and academic and other supports for students. And so, once again, we just list some samples of different activities that we have at our school site as it relates to multi-tier systems of support, trying to build that base district-wide in terms of how do we provide support to school sites comprehensively. Our Link Crew, Where Everybody Belongs is our middle school program in terms of how we transition our elementary kids into middle school in terms of them having some type of connection so that they're not just coming on campus, but we're trying to make some connections for them. You have your student ambassadors, Friday Night Live, Unity Forums, different practices we have specifically for kids to help build those positive cultures on school campuses. Number 5 is adopting curriculum and instructional materials that accurately reflect the diversity among student groups. And a lot of this work is built in from the state level in regards to how the state adopts curriculum. And so they have very specific frameworks in terms of what is accepted on our list in terms of what we can select from. So built into these are the specific components that are built into on the state level, how they bring curriculum in terms of ELA and math and the different processes they go through to evaluate curriculum. So you have the California State Standards and Framework that has to specifically address those items. The universal access piece, meaning does it provide the scaffolding services for special ed students or English learners and students who are struggling readers. So all those pieces are built into a curriculum that comes into California. The social content review is the process of really going through the content and making sure that it does reflect the diverse demographics of different populations. And then the learning resources that are involved in it. Also, we have our own district pilot process reviews that we go through as well, looking at new curriculum coming into the district. Number 6 talks about providing and are collaborating with local agencies and community groups to ensure the availability of necessary support services for students in need. And so we just list some of the organizations that we have up there that we work with. So SELPA's up there, Department of Rehabilitation's up there, Riverside County Office of Education, the services they provide. We have Positive Solutions that comes into the district and they do our drug counseling. TODEC is a group that we're working with this year. Assistance League specifically provides clothes to kids who may be in kind of challenging situations. So those are just some sample of the different community organizations that we work with. Not all, but some of the community organizations that we work with in this area. Number 7 talks about promoting the employment and retention of a diverse staff that reflects the student demographics of the community. And so this work we do in regards to the job fairs and the job fairs that we visit and recruitments as applicants, and we make sure we're going to those locations that reflect our student population. Actively seek candidates reflecting our current demographics to kind of make sure that we're kind of trying to do that work. And then employee selection guides. HR worked very diligently this year to make sure that we have very clear and objective screening criteria so that we're very consistent in how we're doing that work to really, at the end of the day, the last one talks about regularly monitoring hiring practices and to eliminate biases. And part of that is the work that was done around our employee selection guides to make sure that we work to eliminate biases in that process of hiring staff. Number 8 talks about providing district and staff with ongoing research-based professional learning and professional development on culturally responsive instructional practices. And this is work kind of we're on the front end of, kind of beginning to roll out. And so this year we had a training, a culturally responsive teaching with Dr. Shiraki Holly. He came in and worked with our teams. Navigating differences is some work we're doing with the county. Our goal is to train staff initially. They're going in December now to become trainers of trainers. The goal is that they're going to come back and train district-wide in regards to navigating differences. Professional learning communities, of course, we've been working on that, multi-tier systems of support. You have the social emotional academic learning. We rolled that out at our last two PD days. Our entire staff went through social emotional academic learning. We got really good feedback from the staff on that one. That was probably one of the best trainings that staff talked about. Hey, how can we get more training on this? I think PSEA even requested the possibility of us doing once a month some work around social emotional academic learning. So looking at ways to continue to build that. PROACT training is something that we're bringing to the district as well. And we just got trainers for the district. They're going to start the training over, I believe it's over the next month. We'll begin training staff for PROACT training. And then the standards-based grading practices. We did some work on that last year, and that's gaining a lot of traction in our math department. CMI has rolled it out. They've gone across the board in all their math classes, standards-based grading. And they've kind of done a road tour where they've gone around to our different math departments throughout the district, and different math departments are beginning the process of embracing how do we bring standards-based grading to the district. And then the final one is conducting program evaluations that focus on equity and address the academic outcomes and performance of all students on all indicators. And so the program evaluations are typically taking place at the end of the year. So we got the annual LCAP updates. We have our annual SIPSA updates. In that process is built in the program evaluations. The Title I program evaluation, we have the EOD program evaluation that we do annually. The transcript analysis is the work that we do in terms of going into schools and analyzing their transcripts. We've extended that work this year to middle school, and then we'll also be extending that work to Paris Lake High School as well. So we will have a specific report in terms of those transcripts. Tells us a lot in terms of access and success kids are experiencing inside of our schools. I think the final slide is kind of like what are some of our next steps. I think one of our next steps is our district equity committee. And so we want to reestablish that work. We met with the team, some of the individuals that are going to the Navigating Differences. And so we were also working with Dr. I'm blanking right now, Kamai Wilson at Cal State LA. And so he's doing some equity work in LA Unified right now. And so we had a conversation with him. He came in and met with us specifically because when you do equity work, it's kind of like we're sitting inside the district, so we're going to always look from the district's perspective. He's kind of that outside voice speaking to us, so we met with him and had a good conversation. He talked specifically and gave us recommendations to make sure what we're doing with navigating differences with teachers, we got to make sure that's lining up with what we're doing with student voice, so they're not missing each other. So he's going to come in and do some work for us later on tonight. You'll be approving specifically his item, that's the equation for success, where he's going to come in and do some work around student voice, but he's also going to be working with our equity team, kind of working from a perspective of being that critical voice in the room to make sure we're looking at our data and making good decisions. So you got the district equity committee will be kicking off. You also have student voice. That's the work we want to do second semester. We also talked about developing a superintendent student advisory. So our goal is that from that equity committee, we will get a much broader plan, but I just wanted to kind of highlight the specifics today to kind of relate to specifically what was requested, what specifically our board policy lays out as it relates to equity. Okay. So at this time, I have any questions or? Mm-hmm. So I think one of them was last year specifically, we were in our 9th grade classes, we were taking our math students and we were directing some of them into a class lower than algebra, meaning they were going into a class called algebra readiness. So that was one area in particular that basically set kids on track where kids were not going to meet their A through G requirement. So that was an element that we worked on specifically. We met with all our math teams. We looked at data specifically as it relates to that. And after really unpacking that, majority of all of our sites felt like ninth graders coming in, they needed specifically to be in algebra the first year, because having them take a different class, not setting kids up to really, it becomes a barrier in terms of them meeting the A through G requirements. So that was just one sample of some work that we did last year. And I thought that it was good work, but at the same time, that's just the beginning of the work, because when you say kids are gonna now take ninth grade algebra, there's still a lot of work to do in terms of providing additional supports now to make sure those kids are successful. So that's one of the samples of the work that we did, yeah. So I think, I mean, once again, yeah, yeah. I mean, I can share some examples from previously. I think that the goal of the equity committee is really to come in and start examining that work. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Standards-based grading is basic. The work is really taking place in math, and so basically it's asking the question: what does a math grade really translate into, right? If we're giving a kid an A in algebra, does it actually mean the kid is getting an A in algebra? So many of our teachers are asking the question. Some classes, maybe the kid is getting an A for turning in homework, not necessarily knowing the math, but just the fact they're turning in homework, they're doing activities. That doesn't necessarily mean that kid in Algebra 1 is ready for Algebra 2. So what teams of teachers are saying is, how do we ensure that when we write down a grade, it represents the expectations that have been laid out that kids need to meet in terms of the learning relating to algebra? And so basically what teams are doing is identifying what are those essential skills that they need at every grade level, and using their grading practices, that becomes the driving force of determining what that grade is. And so a sample of that is CMI has done that work. They've done some really good work, and what they're finding is that as they've done that for kids now are walking in class understanding what it actually takes to pass the algebra class, because it relates to the specific skills that are laid out. And part of that is not covering so much information, but covering up what we're calling essential standards, essential skills. So you might have 10 or 12 essential skills. If you guys pass all these essential skills and you've mastered what you need to go to Algebra 2. So CMI has done the work. Because of that, they've actually journeyed to I believe at this particular point, Julie knows better. I know we went to, I believe, Paris High School. Well, basically, they're doing a road tour. So far, the majority of the sites are buying into this standards-based grading, because oftentimes in math, trying to demystify specifically what I need to learn to be successful in, let's say, Algebra 1. So that's the work, is being more specific in terms of the standards that they need to learn.
And this is so important because there is a correlation in terms of policies. I know that there are some districts that they have approved policies where teachers are going to assign the grade based on the mastering of the standards of what Dr. Newman has been talking about. Not that much about attendance, behavior, or anything like that. Is the student really mastering the standard? Not if he's a nice student, if he's bringing boxes of Kleenex or anything like that, they get an extra point. So that is something important. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
It sounds to me as what you're talking about basically is that they're establishing a rubric that they demonstrate the level of proficiency based upon these rubrics, so that either advanced, proficient, or so forth. And I think that's the easiest way to address it. I do think that that's something that has to just make sure that it's done standardly, district-wide.
I appreciate it, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Okay.
into that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we need a consensus to move forward with that? Because I support you on that. Do we have to have 3, 4, 5 votes? Are you guys okay with that, giving direction for possibly a student board member? Yeah. Mr. Nielsen and Mr. Stafford?
I think there is a criteria to that already. Other districts have it. Yeah, we'd have to have a look at that.
Because I remember this district with 1,000 students, with 10,000 student board members. I remember addressing that. I can look at my files.
We've never had one.
Okay, we can consider it.
So we have consensus. Mr. Nielsen, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's finish.
Mr. Nielsen said it just depends what their role would be.
We'll start out with bringing information back to the board on that.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. All right, go ahead, Mr. Stafford.
Charles, on number 7, I just wanted to commend you guys on that one. I know that had a lot to do that Kirk was working on the handbook, and it was a big issue that I felt we just never addressed. And to see that there it is, and you're trying to do something and work in that direction. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome. Oh, sorry, okay.
That trustee Stafford was talking about that. It was a year already that you presented a summary of the demographics of our employees. Probably in the beginning, right, of the calendar year. Okay, so probably next year, next semester, we can have an update. So how are we looking with the new hires and? Yeah.
Right, and we provided that, I provided that to Mr. Bennett following the hires of our certificated employees, and we do that typically on an annual basis. If the board would like that as an annual update, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I think the least would be annually or every semester, because here it says regularly monitor hiring practices.
We do, yeah.
So in order to mean what we are saying, right, we need to.
Whatever the board would like.
How do you feel about that? Do you think? Yeah? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Item 12.2, College and Career Readiness Report.
And so as I shared earlier, today we have our annual College and Career Readiness Report. And so we have Julie Zerl, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, will be bring that report to us.
All right. Good evening, President Garcia and board members, Superintendent Bennett and cabinet members. This is always one of my favorite things to kind of update the board on. And so we're doing kind of a combination today on some of our college and career readiness indicators, as well as the kickoff to college and our college fair. So generally you'll get this in two different presentations. This time we're going to do it actually all in one presentation. So this covers our LCAP Goal 2, where all students will graduate from high school prepared for post-secondary and career options or obtain a certificate of high school completion. This is really focused around what our students are going to be doing post-secondary and making sure that we're providing the right opportunities for our students based on their needs. So this is our graduation rate projections. So we have to wait till December 9th to actually have our official data. We're pretty excited about some of the growth that we're seeing. I do want the board to know that the projections up here, they may fluctuate a little bit based on the cohort data and how they calculate in our Alt-Ed programs. It's one of those things where it's a little bit more difficult for us to project how that's calculated in. But when we're looking at our graduation rates right now, we're looking at a pretty significant gain for our students across the district. And so you'll see this is the breakdown across the board in regards to our demographic data. On the next slide, this is what we're looking at for our A to G completion. So we're looking at some nice growth across the district as well, with the 40.3% A to G completion for the district as a whole. And then when we're looking at our demographics across the board, you'll see that we had an increase for our English learners, our white students, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. We did see a slight drop when we look at our African American students as well as our special ed students. As always, we're always looking at ways to make sure that we're addressing all of our demographics. I would say that probably one of the most difficult when we're looking at A to G completion is our special ed population, and ensuring that we're making sure that the students are in the right classes and providing the right supports for them to also complete the A to G requirements. Here's a snapshot when we look at both A to G completion and our site graduation rates, looking at it by site. This is just so that you can see that we've had some significant changes when you look at graduation rate. When you look at the A to G completion, we had, as a district, we had 0.18% growth as a district, but when you look at the school sites, you'll see that Heritage had a 1.1% increase in A to G completion, and then you'll jump down to CMI that had a 5.8% increase in A to G completion, some significant gains in that area. And then when we look at the site graduation rates, you'll see that we had some significant gains for some of our schools as well. Paloma with a 1.3 increase, and you'll look at that graduation rate, that's a pretty significant graduation rate for a comprehensive high school at 96.1%. And then as a district, we're looking at about a 1% growth for our district. Looking at our AVID participation and kind of the significance that AVID brings to our district in regards to college and career readiness, this is something that we've been very proud of as a district, having a demonstration school at Heritage High School as well as some very strong programs across the district. We have a 3-year, 100% graduation rate for our AVID students, which shouldn't be a surprise when the focus is really around our students graduating as well as being prepared for college. We did see a slight drop in our participation for AVID. One thing that I will say is I think that there is something to be said about some of our feeder districts that no longer have AVID in their district, which one of our districts that feeds into both Paloma and Heritage both no longer have AVID programs. And so the recruitment for incoming 9th grade students is a little bit more challenging when you're not recruiting from other schools that have AVID programs as well. And then we talked a little bit about this earlier this year when we looked at the AAP participation. So just want to really highlight the gain in our advanced placement success rate, seeing that increase by like close to 3% with the actual success of our students getting a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exam. And then the enrollment has dropped slightly, but that is probably attributed to the increase in the number of students participating in dual enrollment. So seeing 2 big, strong programs for rigorous coursework for dual enrollment at AP, that's good to see that there's a significant increase in our dual enrollment. We also have had a significant increase in the number of dual enrollment courses being offered. Currently, we're in the process right now of the vetting process with MSJC, and we're hoping to add a couple other classes starting next year in some other content areas, which is exciting for us to be able to kind of spread out and make sure that we're addressing all the core content areas as well as some of the electives. And then FAFSA completion, this has been something that we've been talking about so far this year. And this shows that in 2019, we had an increase up to 74.7% when we looked at the comprehensive high schools separate from the CMI as well as our alt-ed programs. It just kind of shows you the difference between the breakdown because there are significant factors when you have CMI that has 100% FAFSA completion within that equation. And then just below, you'll see that this is where we're at currently with our standings for submissions. So currently we have 35% of our students district-wide that have already submitted their FAFSA applications. The application window opened October 1st. So we're looking pretty good. The goal really from the counseling teams is really to have as many students submit before Christmas break is really the target, although the March 2nd is the deadline to submit the FAFSA. They really try and get most of that taken care of before Christmas time so that at the end of the process, we're not actually having to address as many students. And then moving into the kickoff to college, this was on October 16th this year. We had 9,105 students participate district-wide in the kickoff to college event. This is our 5th year with the kickoff to college. This kind of just highlights some of our objectives for what the Kickoff to College really focuses around. And I would say that the most significant thing is really increasing that awareness for students about college and career readiness and what post-secondary options they have. So during the day, they have opportunities to be exposed to college assessments, college prep assessments, career assessments. They fill out college applications. They also fill out their FAFSA applications. It's a great opportunity for our students to engage in just planning for that post-secondary career or college experience. Here's a snapshot of what our attendance looked like by grade level for the Kickoff to College. With this, it's always interesting to see how well we do as far as marketing the actual event, because it is really important for us to focus on making sure that students are exposed to this information. And when we get to the end, you'll see some of the student comments, which is always, I think, the most rewarding for me, is to see what the students actually thought of the event and what they gained from it. So for our 5th, 6th, and 7th grade activities, they focused on college exploration activities, career exploration activities. They had student presentations about their career choices. I think that's probably one of the favorite things about the Kickoff to College, is seeing our younger students. They're looking up and finding out what careers they would be most interested in, and then they would also looking at budget and how that looks based on the job that they have. And a lot of times the kids will say, oh, I thought I was going to make a lot more money, or I thought I'd be able to make a living off of this, and realize that they need to rethink some of those options. And so it's fun to talk to the younger kids, because they're already starting to think about those things before they get to high school. And then our 9th grade students, they also looked at college exploration activities, career exploration activities, just a little bit higher level, more addressing the high school level. College admissions processes and activities, as well as financial literacy. That's something that is important for us based on the FAFSA as a graduation requirement for us, but also it's part of a bill that's been passed that starting next year, it's required of us to have financial literacy given to all of our students before they hit 12th grade. So that means they have to be exposed to it before they start their senior year. And so our goal is really to focus on ensuring that they get something about financial literacy every year. So not just when they're 11th or 12th graders, but starting in the middle school. Our middle school team is done a great job of really getting those conversations started with our middle school kids, and now making sure that there's a conversation happening during our Kickoff to College event with our 9th graders around financial literacy. Our 11th grade students that didn't take the PSAT, they did career interest surveys. They also did college interest surveys. They had presentations by guest speakers, and they also were able to see some of the CTE pathways presentations, so they got an idea of what options were there for them if they weren't planning on going to a 4-year college. I think what was always interesting to see them actually be able to talk to people that are doing the jobs, and the sites have all done a really good job of recruiting community members to come out and speak to the students. And so there's always a really good feedback from these students that participate in those activities, because they get to kind of choose what they're most interested in. And then this is what we looked at when we were talking about the post-secondary assessment opportunities. So this year, we not only had students taking the PSAT on the day of the event, we also had some students that were able to take the ASVAB, which I think is something that we would really like to explore at all of the high schools. Sometimes it's difficult to get the military to be able to have access to having the ASVAB on all of the campuses, but this year Heritage was able to also give the ASVAB in addition to the PSAT. So from last year to this year, we increased the number of students that were participating in post-secondary assessments by 575 students, about a 15% increase in students that were able to participate in those types of assessments that help them identify what they possibly want to do after high school. Thank you. So this is the test that kids take before they join the military, and it helps identify what job that they qualify for. Yeah. So it's a test that it based on their actual score, it will identify a specific job that they could qualify for. And oftentimes they'll have the kids take the ASVAB multiple times so that they can get, the higher the score is, generally the better pay they get and opportunities for education when they get into the military. And then our 12th grade students, they participated in filling out college applications as the main focus on the day of the kickoff to college. We had 382 students that at least started their UC applications. Generally with the UC applications, they don't have enough time to finish the entire application because they do have some additional essays that they have to write that go along with the UC application. But we always find that it's very useful for students to have that connection with either the counselor or a college rep that comes out to talk about the application process. We always want to ensure that the students fill out the application correctly the first time, because if there's errors on the application, oftentimes that'll hold up the acceptances. So that's very beneficial for them to have support filling out the UC applications. The CSU applications, we had 563 students at least begin the application. Over half of those students did finish the actual application the day of the kickoff to college. And then we had 799 students complete a community college application. So most of our students are applying to MSJC. We do have a good number of students that are filling out the application for Moreno Valley College, as well as Riverside Community College. And then we had 471 students start their FAFSA application. Many of them won't be able to finish the application the day of the kickoff to college because of the parent information that they need, but many of them did complete the application as well. And actually, when we look at the overall numbers for our FAFSA currently, we're higher at this time of year than we were last year at the same time. And then this is always my favorite part, the stories that the staff and the students share. I won't read all of the comments that the staff wrote, but I think some of the gist of what they provide feedback on is really that eye-opening experience for students when they have students ask them questions or say, I wouldn't have done some of this research if I was told to do it on my own, that this really helps support me get through the process. They like to share about hearing about the stories from their teachers about their experience. They change their decisions oftentimes based on some of the activities that we have them go through. When it comes to identifying career paths, I know that there was one student that talked about wanting to go into engineering, and when they did more research, they realized that the engineering pathway that they were selecting was actually not what they wanted to do, and changed their direction and decided to go into accounting. So these activities give a lot of hands-on experience and help them identify what's the best possible path for them to get to that end result. And then the student reflections, this is based on the feedback within the survey that we give the students. When you look at what they thought was most beneficial, you'll see a majority of what they thought was most beneficial was that assistance with filling out college applications. They're very appreciative of their teachers as well as their college and career counselors and their counselors to help fill out the applications. Based on the student feedback, 82.7% of the students plan to attend a four-year or a community college. So that's really exciting to see that many of our students are really focused on that post-secondary education. There's also a pretty good, significant number of students that have said that they want to join the military as well. And then the next thing that we do after the kickoff to college, we've had a lot of college activities. We then follow up the kickoff to college with our college fair. And then this has been going on for, I think, about 12 or 13 years now at Heritage. And this is a district-wide college event. And we had about over 900 families attend this year, up from just over 700 last year. And then in 2017, just around 500. So I think what's really helped with getting more and more students to participate is really that opportunity to do a lot of marketing during the kickoff to college event, and then the opportunity to have lots of colleges really want to participate. I think because we've been doing this event for so long, that the college reps always say that this is one of their favorite events to attend because we do such a good job of marketing the event. Because they don't like to come to events when they're not going to get a lot of students come through. They really get a big bang for their buck when they have a lot of students coming through. So to have 900 families come through It's pretty exciting to see that. We had 55 total colleges participate. We had 10 private schools, 5 California state schools, and 9 UC schools that came this year. I think one of the things that we're starting to see is some of the Cal States, because they are becoming more and more impacted, we don't have as good of participation from our CSUs. That's one thing that we've had lots of discussion within the counseling meetings about is looking at some of the other opportunities for our students, like the WUI schools, which are schools that students can attend outside of the state of California. There are certain majors that they can attend these schools for and pay in-state tuition like they would if they stayed in California. And so it's looking for opportunities for our students to have a better chance of getting accepted in some of those schools. And so some of the challenge with that is making sure that we're able to provide an experience that shows them what those schools would look like. Because obviously leaving California and going to a different state is another challenge that some of our students face when they leave home. So making sure that they're fully aware of some of the opportunities. And then we had 10 out-of-state college reps. This was always fun. We have a great rep that comes from Notre Dame that gets super excited about talking about Notre Dame, as well as Nebraska, Arizona, and Washington State are some of the favorites for our students. And then we also had 2 public service agencies. So we had the fire department. It's the local fire department, which is always nice, from Romerland, that comes and participates, and they've been participating for the last probably 10 years at the college fair, as well as our Riverside County Sheriff's Department was also there participating. And then we had 12 trade schools. That was something that we've really worked hard in increasing the number of trade schools that are attending the college fair. The kids were really excited about the welding program that they had that came out. They actually provided some hands-on experiences where kids actually got to experience some welding. And so that was exciting for kids. I saw a lot of kids that you wouldn't expect to be over there actually testing it out. And there is some decent jobs and some very high-paying jobs within the welding. And so it's making sure that the kids get that experience as well. And then we also had the 5 military branches out as well. And I think this is what I get the most excited about is if you look over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen that steady growth in our college going rate. So we're up to 53%. Since the implementation of the Kickoff to College 5 years ago, we've seen some significant growth. I was really disappointed because I thought we were going to have our 2019 number today, but we haven't gotten that from the county yet. But I will make sure that Dr. Newman shares that with you the next meeting, because I think we are going to continue to see some growth in that area. That's just the baseline. That's the average. Yeah. Where we get the data from is the National Student Tracker, and it provides us a lot of really great data. When we look at where our students are going, it'll actually, this is just the overview of the data that we get, but it actually breaks down some of the schools that our students attend most frequently. It also shows which students specifically showed up. So one of the things that we've actually gone back and done is we do a senior survey at the end of every year where kids self-select where they're going. But we can also compare that data now with the student tracker data, because it actually gives us the specific students, and we can compare that with the self-reported data. And we've spent a lot of time trying to ensure that our students don't get lost in the summer melt, which is that time period where they have to commit to school and actually show up to school, and that they all have to commit May 1st to where they're going, especially for the four-year colleges. And sometimes there's challenges that come about for students. It's sometimes financial, sometimes it's family not supporting them leaving home. And so making sure that when our students are accepted, that they actually end up showing up where they say they're going to show up. So we use this data pretty significantly, and there's so many opportunities to take that data and disaggregate it and look at it by school site, by gender, by race. And so that's something that we've spent a lot of time looking at as well. Any questions? Sure. Yep. It's an excellent question. Yeah. So, some of the benefits for us as part of the RCEC collaborative with the county is we've actually received some grant funding that's specifically focused on the summer melt, and so they have provided us some additional funding where we can have counselors actually work during the summer and are paid for following up with students to ensure that they did make it to the college they committed to, and if they didn't actually commit to a college that they originally said, it's the next step is then getting them to a college, whether it may be shifting gears from a four-year school to a community college. That's really the goal is having those conversations with students, and the counselors are calling individual students. A lot of the time it's not robo messages or emails or anything like that. It's the one-on-one conversations. We really feel like it's best to have the students counselor from their school rather than having a district committee doing it, because a lot of times those counselors can have those conversations and really identify and have the students share why they didn't end up going. They're more willing to share if they have a better relationship with them. And so it's not necessarily a committee that's done it. It's really the counselors that are willing to come in and spend that time. It's grant. Well, as part of the collaborative, so the Riverside County Education Collaborative is something that our district, as well as 4 other districts, so Marietta, Temecula, Moreno Valley, and Valverde, in addition to us, are part of the collaborative. And so as a collaborative, we apply for a lot of grants that help provide some of that funding. Cool. Yeah. Riverside County Education Collaborative. That's the group that Catalina Cifuentes. Yeah. Some of the other things that we also do is we set up field trips for our students that are going to MSJC. A lot of times our students that are going to community college, they need a little bit more assistance with some of the processes. And I'll be honest, going through the processes of the application, the orientation, it's not easy for some of our students if they don't have a parent that's also experienced it to be able to navigate it. So we also do a lot more intense work with some of our community college students and actually take them over to the community college. We get them to the admissions office, make sure that they have all of their holds taken care of. So it's taken that a little bit extra step to make sure the students are getting where they say they're going. For dual enrollment, there's so right now. So right now we have two classes at Heritage that are the concurrent enrollment. So we have about 60 students. Right now they're for the concurrent enrollment, they're taking the English course. But that doesn't mean they're not enrolled in a dual enrollment course also. So at Heritage, and I don't want to give a number because I don't know off the top of my head how many courses are being offered right now. But they have courses offered in every content area but science right now, and that's something that we would really like for us to be able to do is add a science class, because then it would cover all 4 content areas, as well as a few electives that we have. I know that there's been some additional teachers that are working on getting their master's degree, so I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a lot of growth across the district, not just at Heritage with the number of teachers that qualify for that. Because I do think it makes a big difference when you have your own teachers qualified to teach it. It helps with the recruitment process a lot of the time as well. No, I would say currently right now we have several juniors and seniors that will leave with at least 30 college credits, if not more than that.
It was extended right now. So it was extended right now. So we were waiting to hear an update from where specifically it was at. When I spoke with Luz Gallegos over at Todex, she said it was extended. And we still did the video and posted on our website because it's still something that's out there. So more than likely it will possibly come back. Well, what they're specifically addressing is what we talked specifically about was making sure that the opt-out process is built into the presentation. So Julie specifically worked with them to make sure we were consistent with that. But she also had Luz Gallegos. She's been going around the different school sites doing presentations, and she also came in and spoke with our counselors as well to address some of the different laws and rules that are available for our kids.
Listening about Carrie UPP 72.4 72.6.
I don't remember off. Oh, more than that. We had more than 1,200 tests taken this year. Yeah, don't quote me on that because I don't remember offhand, but it was in that previous presentation. We only charge $10 for a test like that. Mm-hmm. The College Board charges $92 or $96, I believe. That's how much they pay. We pay regardless of where they fall on that spectrum. We pay $92 regardless. So we don't get. We don't. The state used to reimburse us with AP fees. That went away I think like 5 years ago or so. So when we talk about the reduced cost for our students, that's something that we've built into our LCAP. And so when it comes to students that have difficulty paying for it, even if it's a student that doesn't qualify for free and reduced lunch, if they work with the site, their teacher, with one of the administrators, we never tell a kid no, that they can't, that we're not going to give them the reduced fee. And even the students, if they qualify for the reduced fee and they're not able to pay for it, we've built in enough within our LCAP to be able to address those things. $10. For College Board, it's the same. We just cover the difference. $10. I actually have seen that. I think our teachers have done a really good job, especially because I'm sure you're aware that the date of the AP exams, they had to pay for the exams. I believe it was last Friday was the deadline to pay for AP exams, which is usually in the spring. It's something new with the College Board this year. And I know that the students work really well with their teachers. The teachers really front load how that looks. That I would say probably not every single kid will come forward, but I would say a vast majority will. They don't all take it. I'm going to be very curious to see if the change in the commitment date makes a difference, because the College Board did a study, and that's why they changed the date. They said that they did a study, and actually if the kids were forced to commit earlier, more kids committed to taking the test. They said that they committed to take the test, and it also held them more accountable to kind of stay focused versus kind of falling off, that senioritis episode that starts to happen in the spring. They said that students were more focused based on their study, which is why they made that shift. So I'll be curious to see kind of how that plays out for us as a district, the number of students committing, because the order was just submitted Friday. I think by 8 o'clock it had to be submitted for our total number of tests taken. It just passed. Yep, Friday. I don't know what the penalty is offhand. But yeah, some students actually don't take the test because the colleges that they're applying for don't take the AP exam for credit. So I mean, there's definitely some challenges getting students to take it if they're in that boat, especially we have students that take both dual enrollment and the AP courses, and if the AP courses don't transfer to the college that they've been accepted to, a lot of times they won't take the exam.
Yeah, I think with the registration process taking place early this year, and then we can go through this year and maybe toward the end of the year come back to you in terms of how this year has transpired. And then as we start doing the LCAP update, we can start making those considerations at that time.
I mean, I would say that the equity piece is one of the big focuses around everything we do with the college and career readiness, and that's really where the Kickoff to College movement came from. Was we knew we were doing a really great job of providing college and career readiness opportunities for our avid students, but the rest of our population wasn't getting that intense opportunity to see what college and career readiness opportunities were for them. And making sure, and that's one of the great things that when we see some of the student feedback, they talk about, I feel like I have as much opportunity as our avid students do. And then the great thing about having our avid students support the Kickoff to College is many of our avid students are actually the ones that are coming around and actually assisting other students filling out applications. They kind of become our college tutors to support some of those things that the kids are doing. So I see a huge improvement when we're talking about that access for all of our students. And then the access starting in 5th grade at CMI and all the way through 12th grade. Because I think for a while we did a really great job at the high school level, but we weren't talking as much about it with our lower grades. And I think that's where we're really starting to improve those conversations is starting with those younger grades as well.
My question is this: if I have a student who comes to you, wants to take an AP exam, and says, I cannot pay $10, what does the district do?
We allow them to take it and we don't charge them the $10. No questions asked. We don't even ask the reason behind why they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. They can speak to their teacher, because most of the time they feel more comfortable talking to their teacher than an administrator.
That and not to take the risk of 1 or 2 students they don't take a test because of that. And it's not going to cost us.
I'd like to address this as a parent. When my daughters were attending Paloma, they were pushing us to put in an application for free and reduced lunch despite anything else. In fact, one person would win a television from those applications, and the only reason I didn't submit is because if I won one, I'd have to buy 2.
Yeah.
And I would say one of the big focuses during the free and reduced lunch push at the beginning of the year this year was really talking about the fees for AP tests, but also students that qualify for free and reduced lunch also can also get their college application fees waived a lot of times if they qualify. So that was part of the pitch when they were out talking to students about filling out the application is you never know if you're going to qualify to have the fees waived when you apply for your college apps too.
So the unduplicated pupil count that I was confirming with Carrie is a combination of the free and reduced lunch count, which I'll talk about how that's made up in just a second, EL and foster youth, unduplicated. Free and reduced lunch is based on students who either fill out an application, are are directly certified, which means they're getting some sort of service from various organizations that allows us to directly check that socioeconomic disadvantage box. Then we have this challenge being a high school district. We have data from the elementary districts that are willing to share that data with us. Where if Grant's the high school student and I'm the elementary school student and he doesn't want to fill out the application or his parents don't want to for him, because we're siblings, it allows our system to tag it as such. So that's what makes it. Did I miss anything, Carrie? I'm going to say I didn't miss anything. Okay. We're going to go with I didn't miss anything.
I think you covered it. Thank you.
I can move on. Alrighty then, item 13.1, discipline. October 2019 monthly suspension report. Item 14.1 is an action item, general functions resolution number 10/19/20, resolution ensuring a complete count of Paris Union High School District students, families, and communities in census 2020. Is there a motion?
Second.
Dr. Freeman and Dr. Arouse. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.1 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.2 is another action item, personnel certificated personnel action items. Is there a motion?
Second.
Is that Mr. Nelson? Correct. All right. Mr. Stafford, any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.2 is a 5-0 vote. 14.3 is an action item, personnel, classified personnel action item. Is there a motion? Let's try that again.
Give him a motion.
So I have Mr. Stafford and Dr. Arouse. Any discussion? Please vote. Thank you, Dr. Freeman. Copy that. Item 14.3 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.4 is an action item, personnel revised certificated job descriptions, teacher on a special assignment, English learner instructional coach, secondary literacy coach, secondary math coach, and secondary English learner instructional support coach. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Stafford, Dr. Freeman. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.4 is a 5-0 vote. 14.5, personnel, new job description, custodian supervisor, and authorization to recruit. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Freeman, Ms. Nelson, any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.5 is a 5-0 vote. 14.6 item is another action item, personnel approval of tentative agreement between Paris Union High School District and the Paris Secondary Educators Association. Is there a motion? Mr. Nelson, Dr. Rouse. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.6 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.7 is another action item, personnel 2020, 2021, and 2021-22 student teacher calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Stafford, Dr. Freeman. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.7 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.8 is another action item, curriculum agreement with, why can't I say Equation? Equation to Success to provide focus groups to empower student voices at Heritage High School, Paloma Valley High School, and Paris High School, funded through the Local Control Accountability Plan supplemental and concentration funds at a total cost not to exceed $13,500, not the general fund. Is there a motion? Mr. Nelson, Mr. Stafford, any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.8 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.9 is another action item, Building and Grounds Memorandum of Understanding between Paris Union High School District and the City of Paris for the 8th Street widening project. No physical impact. Is there a motion?
Second.
Mr. Nelson and Dr. Freeman. Any discussion? Please vote. Item 14.9 is a 5-0 vote. Item 14.10 is another action item, business approval of the 2018-2019 audit reports. Is there a motion? Oops, wrong person.
Mr. President,
Yes.
If you'd like, the partner from our audit firm, Brian Ruff, is here. I know you've had a lot of reports tonight. He's happy to give
yes.
a presentation. You can
come
ask
on
him
down?
questions.
Exciting stuff going on. Which one do we want to go with first? Measure T? Let's start with Measure T. So,
Well, that's fine. So just so you know, they audit our bond funds as one audit report, which is what it sounds like Mr. Ruff's going Yeah, and then he'll talk, and also the district audit. So we're required to do two.
yeah,
I'm going to stop now.
yes. So Measure T, this is the closeout audit, correct?
It is the closeout now because we fully expended Series A and Series B, but eventually we'll issue Series C. So then you'll be back at it.
Okay. So there's two components to Measure T. There's a financial statement audit and there's a performance audit required by the state, and we go through certain criteria. So within the first component, it's the building fund essentially of the school district, broken out by resource from your various bond measures. So the district tracks Measure T expenditures separately, and then we will pull a sample of those expenditures and test them. For this year, we tested 40 transactions, approximately 9.6 million of $11 million in expenditures, and we found no exceptions that the district had spent those funds in accordance with election materials. So that's the key component within the performance audit. As you'll see with the district audit as well, since we had no issues in internal control and financial reporting within the district audit, it follows suit that within Measure T financial statement audit, we had no exceptions as well. So, district audit report. We got 100 pages. We're going to start with page 1. Is that okay, guys? Okay. Kidding. I'm going to make this easy for you. Okay, page 96, if you have it in front of you. Probably the key page that summarizes the whole report. It breaks it down for the report reader in the various areas that we audit. Area of financial statement audits, we have an unmodified opinion, so that's as good as you can get. We have no significant deficiencies, no weaknesses to report, no non-compliance to report. Area of federal awards, we're required to audit that because the district receives a substantial amount of money from the federal government every year. We tested, we rotate the program that we're required to test annually. This year we tested Title I for its compliance issues, and we found no exceptions in that program that we tested. Within state awards, shout out over there, okay. Within state awards, annually the state of California puts out an audit guide, and we follow the various procedures. There's an opinion on state compliance within this report, a few pages prior to the summary page, and it lists out all the various programs that are relatable to the district that we tested, and also no exceptions. No management letter comments this year either. ASBs, we cleaned those up. No issues to report with that. We have items that we find in our interim audit in the spring that we bring to management's attention, but we give you a chance. If you're going to clean it up by the time that we are ready to issue the report, there's no sense in reporting something that has already been fixed. So we deal with that every year. I do need to mention two things, kind of housekeeping items. Is the board aware that we changed firm names? Okay, good. Okay, so I've been previously with Vavernick Tryon Day for 25 years. Vavernick Tryon Day was around for 70 years. On July 22nd, we merged into a national firm based out of Fargo, North Dakota, of all places. Firm's name is Ide Bailey, as you see on the report cover. It's been quite a transition for us internally, but you have the same cast of characters in your California School District audit, so that's been pretty seamless. This report's issued very timely, I think even probably earlier than in the past. And that's a credit to the district staff, Candace and her team, Alicia, everybody within the school district, and our team as well in working through and working with everybody to make sure that we get only the second report I've issued thus far of the 25 school districts I do, so that's a credit to the district. Secondly, I've been here for a number of years. As you know, there's a requirement to rotate audit partners. So sadly, this is my last year. So I'll see you guys again, hopefully in the future as rotation occurs. But I share a partner with another team, or with my own team, that was previously a manager on engagements. I think he also worked on yours, I'm not sure. Scott Gustafson? Yeah. So very capable. You keep the same management team. It's kind of a weird scenario. The partner, we don't do a whole lot as far as day-to-day task on the audit. So it's a weird anomaly that just kind of dovetailed off of public accountability within SEC registrant type clients when the whole Sarbanes-Oxley Act came out. So California just kind of felt the need to dovetail into governmental audits, which didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is. So thank you, everybody. All right.
Candace, this is a whole new meeting to do an exceptional job, because this time there were no exceptions.
Alrighty then, how about that?
Thank you. If I could, I know this is becoming a long meeting, but a lot of times it's Alicia and I who get the credit for our exceptional audit reports, and we are quite proud of them. Other than Choice 2000, we've not had a finding. Other than
that was my fault too.
And that was
I
I still do blame Brian. But it really is more than business services and fiscal services. You saw Diane cheering out there. These auditors are all over the place in this district, looking under rocks and that kind of thing. They're in the superintendent's office. They're in ed services. They're this direction as well. They're bothering HR and so forth. So I appreciate the entire district cooperating with you.
And Mr. Bennett, Santa, I've done it a few times. Just be cautious after you're done. You're going to be talking in a deep, bellowing voice for about 2 days, so.
He still passes out candy canes. What are you talking about?
You can't leave the roll after a couple hours of that, so good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, go ahead.
The draft report included also measure T, is everything, right?
Yeah, it's two separate reports.
Two separate reports, and I was reading both of them. I have one question, because we have the oversight committee too, right?
So they meet generally quarterly. So they're actually meeting December 4th, I want to say, next. And so, but that's a interesting you bring it up. So part of the reason the audit report is separate for Measure T is because that committee reviews and accepts that report as well. And then they see quarterly expenditure reports also.
Just out of curiosity, as you know, CSBA publishes a newsletter, right? And I don't know if you are aware of a school board of education up north, that they had some issues in terms of a one measure, and they were sued, right? They were taken to court. It doesn't say all the details, but if we have, probably they have an oversight committee, is a requirement, right?
It is a requirement with a Prop 39 election.
Auditors who come and check that. And who else? We have systems in place. It's required by law that you have those systems in place. What do you think might have happened?
Why do I think
What do you think might have happened there?
So I'm not even familiar with the situation you're talking about, so I would be hesitant to make a speculation without even knowing. I'm happy to read up on it and maybe talk with you one-on-one if that's.
Because if we have all those systems in place and they are required by law, I can understand another situation where they are independent, financial independent. But in this case, that's not the point. It's not the case.
You know, I can say generally, I'm always surprised when things happen, when I know how many systems and internal controls are in place that are intended to prevent those things from happening. But I'm speaking generally, not about this situation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, is the board of trustees the one responsible, and we are the ones who are approving millions and millions of dollars. So this is a serious responsibility. I thank the auditors for making sure that everything is in place. But I was wondering.
Yeah, I'd be happy to look into it, and if it's appropriate, we could just have a one-on-one debrief of that, because I'm now interested to review it.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments? All right, item 14.10. No more discussion, so we'll vote. Go ahead and vote, please. Item 14.10 is a 5-0 vote. Item 15.1 is the information item business revolving cash report, October 2019. Item 15.2, board policies, student series 5,000. Item 15.3, information item, board policies, instruction series 6,000. Item 16.1, closed session if necessary.
Not necessary.
Thank you. Let's skip that. Item 18.1 is an action item, discipline board review of discipline matters. Is there a motion?
So move.
Dr. Arouse, Mr. Stafford, any discussion? Please vote. Item 18.1 is a 5-0 vote. Item 19.1, other items by the superintendent.
All I'd like to do is wish all the people out in the audience there a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family along with the board and the cabinet. Take some time with your family. It's important.
Thank you. Item 20.1, other items by the Board of Trustees. Dr. Arouse?
No, I just want to add, similar to what Mr. Bennett said, wish a happy Thanksgiving to everybody, cabinet, district staff, and take this time to reflect on the great things that we are enjoying. And yes, from the opportunity, from the educational perspective, the opportunity that we have to be part of a process to help our community and our students. That means a lot to me. That is one of the things that I say thank you, Max, for this opportunity and try to do my best to support the students. That's the bottom line. That's what we are.
Just want to say happy Thanksgiving, and everybody, if you can, reach out to somebody on the holidays in some kind of way. And remember, some people are affected adversely by holidays, so think about them and keep an eye on them. Okay.
I obviously want to thank everybody, the whole world and some. Happy Thanksgiving. I wanted to touch bases because we've been talking a lot about diversity lately, and I'm excited to see that it's rolling out. There's a proper word for it, but when it's coming to pass, I'm just excited to see that happening here in Paris, and whatever we can do to make sure everybody's coming together and understand, especially being safe, these kids, but diversity is so much more than just one subject matter. It's literally everything coming together and us united. And I'm glad to see when the students were here, they have unity festivals and everything like that. I love it. I love it. And that's why we're here, for the kids. And thank you for all your hard work. Deputy, thank you. I know no one really gets to acknowledge you guys all the time, but thank you for providing safety. Well, we appreciate you. That was a good one. And then Hector and your team, and Art and everybody I apologize if I miss anybody. You guys are doing fantastic work. Thank you for the other week. We appreciate you. That was awesome. And then Cabinet, thank you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. All right, let's move on. Oh, 21.1, adjournment. Is there a motion? Whoa. Mr. Freeman, who's my second? Mr. Nelson. Any discussion? Going once, going twice? Nope. Please vote. As soon as it pops up. All right. Item 21.1 is 5-0 vote, and we are adjourned at 7:49 p.m.